Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a DIY Dollar Tree wood and wire plant holder. We're going to use a cutting board. Again, these were gifted to me. I know that they're hard to find, but if you find them, grab them. And we're going to use a piece of this wire garden gate. Sorry, I couldn't think of what it was called. Garden trellis. And then we're going to use some planter pots. I got these four for $1 at the Dollar Tree, but you can use whatever ones you want, whatever size. And then, of course, you're going to need some sort of plier wire cutter situation. And we're going to use our drill, but of course, you just need to make a hole big enough for the wire to go through. Now, I say whatever size, but obviously it's you probably can get somewhere up to a 6-inch pot. Because the tray on this is 6 inches. So you want anything bigger, you probably won't be able to hold with this wire. And also you have to make sure about how heavy. So this is a plastic pot with artificial flowers in it right now. But I did test it with dirt, and it does hold dirt. The thing is, the bottom of the flower pot touches the wood, so it does give it some added support. The ring wire just actually kind of holds it in place. So I'll show you what we're going to do here. Now we've cut off one of the fancy loops on the ends of the trellis. We've removed it from its extended bottom part as well as where it was attached at the top. And I'm just using my hands. It was a little bit of effort, but not tons, to straighten that curl out. And then I'm using the pliers to bend at two elbow joints, because you want to create that shape right there. This is what's going to hold the flower pot. And you'll see, as you see me testing it out here, you don't have to make it as big as I'm making it. Depending on the flower pot, you could use it for smaller flower pots, just make a smaller hole. You can make it adjustable if you want to as well. You also don't have to hang the pot as low as I am. So all of these things are sort of can be adjusted accordingly. Now, this is inspired from something I saw in a catalog that was actually like $25 for a wire thing attached to a board. You didn't even get the flower pot with it. So, and that of course is just one size circle that you can just put different pots in. They'll just sit at different levels. Okay. So what I'm doing now is I've made the circle, and you just want to make your adjustments. If you cannot bend a perfect circle with your hands, you can bend it around your flower pot. And then once you got it exactly where you want it, you want to go ahead and cut your two legs, your long leg to be as long as your short leg, or a little bit longer even. And now what I'm doing is I've taken the board and I'm trying to find where I wanted it to hang. I wanted it to hang a little high of center between the top and bottom of the board. And the reason I wanted to do that, actually a little low. I decided to make it a little low because it depends on if you want like more pot down there or if you want more flowers up there. Or you could just put it right in the middle and then just leave it blank. The example, basically, they found the middle of the board and they put it right there in the middle of the board. And this is where our drill comes in. We're using a drill. I'm using a small drill bit because it's just a tiny wire that's going in there. I mean, not tiny, but it's not as big as other, as a whole would need to be bigger or whatever. But if you don't have a drill, there are different ways to get around this. They just take a little bit more effort. What you could do is you could start with a small nail and then increase that size by hammering in then a bigger nail, and then actually like even a bigger screw. And you can do this until you get a hole that's appropriate. Now, like I said, this is a very thin wire, relatively speaking, and you don't have to have a very big hole to get it through. All right? But what I've done here is I've said that my wire space is 3 inches apart. So I've found center on the line. I've measured 1.5 inches from each side of center, which is basically 3 inches measured from the center out. Okay. Now you can see here I'm using a very, very small drill bit. That's why I said you can achieve these holes with just hammer and nails. I would always recommend, if you're doing it with the hammer and nail method, that you start with a small nail, maybe one of the small brad nails from the Dollar Tree. Start with that. And this way what it does is it kind of like chips away a little bit as opposed to just trying to get a big nail in there. But you can achieve your hole in your board other ways, is what I'm basically saying to you. Now, the other day when we made, or a couple of weeks ago when we made the wall sconces with these beautiful cutting boards, we took a sawtooth hanger from the back of one of the art pieces from the Dollar Tree. This time we're going to do something a little different, just to give you a different option. But first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the wire around the pot, and we're going to feed it through the holes just to make sure that it's good. Now, as you see here, I'm pulling it all the way through. But when I pulled it all the way through, then it was no room for my pot. So you want to make sure you check that before you bend your wires, okay? And, oh, that's me using my wire to pull the... It's funny, I'm using my pliers to pull the wire through, and then I realized I had to pull it back out. So the pot won't sit where I wanted it to sit with the wire, with the... Basically, the circle hugged too close to the wall, if that makes any sense. So just adjust accordingly, pull it out and push it in as necessary. I'm kind of going to use my pliers here to tap the wire back out a little bit, which was helpful. And then once you have it where you want it, you want to bend the wires in opposite directions. If the wires were both bent in one direction, you risk them coming out easier. So say you bent them both down and you put heavy flower pots in there, you risk them coming up and out of the hole. If you bend them both up and you go to pull your flower pot out, you risk them both coming out that way. But if you bend them both in opposite directions, that's where you really are ensure that you're going to have the best security on the wires. And like we did in the last DIY, you want to make sure that they're as flat to the wood as possible. I just used a little bit of pressure there. Okay. Now, unlike the lights, the wall sconce, we are not going to attach these in the back, but you could. You could use the same glue and stick method to hold these wires down. I just felt it totally unnecessary. Now we're going to do a different type of hanger like I mentioned the other day. And since we already have a drill and drill bit, or you can go ahead and again use your hammer and nails, we're going to drill 2 holes. I've gone about a half an inch down and 1 inch in from the sides. And we're just going to hang put a jute hanger on here. I wanted to give this a little bit more of the country farmhouse feel. Now there's a couple of ways to do this. You can either make it where the knot isn't visible. You can make the knot into a bow at the top, or you can make a knot into a bow in the front. Again, that's depending on the look that you want to go for. You can also make it totally invisible where you can't see the jute string at all. Now I do recommend with this board, and this is actually only the second time that I've actually worked with it, that I would have, in hindsight, would have drilled through the back. I noticed that the exit holes are much cleaner than the entrance holes on this board. Maybe that's not everybody's, but that's my experience. So I just took a tiny bit of sandpaper to get the tiny little burrs off of there. But I knew I wasn't going to see the holes anyway, so it wasn't no big deal. But I decided to go ahead and make my jute hanger as long as I wanted it, and I added a bow towards the top of where it was going to hang on the hook. Okay, and then I just adjusted accordingly. Again, you can make this as tall as you want, as short as you want, as, you know, you can use the sawtooth hanger and just make it flush, either way. Now, this is just an extra part of the video that I've saved on there for you, but it's actually not part of the DIY necessarily, but we're going to just go ahead and add some flowers to the pot. I've taken my purples and my pinks, so this is larkspur, some of the lilac, as well as some of the pink sort of wildflowers that they have out there, that I'm just going to add to this pot. Actually, it wasn't lavender, it was that other stuff that I don't know what the name of it is. I feel like I threw the sticker out the first day. It was the one that had sort of the fake eucalyptus on it. Do you remember? I don't know. You guys tell me in the comments down below what it was. But I just added some little tiny piece of foam moss. No, it's not. Neither one of those. It's neither one of those. It is foam. I like to work with the wet foam. Like to work with it dry, but I like to work with the wet foam. It cuts easier, and it's more forgiving. Let's put it that way. So I've just cut a piece down there and stuck, and I've tried to make my piece balanced. So if it's, I made it even. So if there's something on the left, I put it on the right. But that's just the way that I wanted to do this particular arrangement. Okay. So some things I just stuck the stem off, took the stem off of, used my wire cutters, stuck the stem off, and you know, guys, I normally don't cut my flowers with wire cutters. I use my scissor, but the wire cutters were here, so why not, right? That's what I say. And then some I added the greens to add just a little bit more dimension. All right, and then just stuck it in the pot, zhuzh it up, and that's it. I know, it was really simple. I hope you guys really enjoyed this tutorial. If you do, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to share this video with friends and family. Anybody you know might be interested in learning how to make this hanger or this little arrangement. And if you haven't yet, click subscribe, and when you do, a little bell will pop up. When you ring that bell, YouTube will let you know whenever I upload a new video. And as always, you take care, God bless, and we'll see you next time. Bye!